Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Eyes on Geopolitics. I'm joined today with Jason Lyons, Mick Mulroy. I'm Dimitri Kontakos. Do us all a favor real quick before we get into the nitty gritty. Like and subscribe. If you're listening to us on audio, subscribe there, rated 5 stars. Do what you can. Also patreon.com/theteamhouse to help support the show. One more thing, Mick has a new podcast about stoicism. Those links are in the description. It's called The Pub and the Porch. Applied Stoicism. It's a great podcast. I listen to it every week. So check him out there. Jason Lyons is writing a book, which I'm very interested in reading when it's ready to come. Yeah, but I just did.
No kidding.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So it's going to be a good one. So wait and just gotta be patient. And when it comes out, we'll definitely be the first people to let you know. So guys,
I'm going to put it right here, Jason.
Hell yeah.
This is what I do when my friends write books. So when I'm on ABC,
I make the stack.
Just give me a really big book.
Get some airtime, right? Yeah, exactly. Send them like
table edition.
Yeah. Crazy article that Mick pointed out in our chat this week about when al-Sharaa, who the president of Syria now, also known as al-Jilani, former HTS head, visited the White House last week and met President Trump. Also, Jay, you pointed out too, it was on Veterans Day that they met, which is kind of a little ridiculous if you think about it. The guy was an AQ guy. We had him in jail in Iraq, and he probably had a hand in killing a few servicemen. So it's just a weird kind of optics. They did try and kind of keep it low key though. There wasn't a big pool spray and stuff like that with him there. Some videos came out later of them meeting in the Oval Office and stuff, some stills and stuff like that. But this article that came out, I want to get the reporter's name right. Karl. Basically what the article states is that Syria's new president, Ahmed al-Sharaa, has formally aligned with his government with the U.S.-led coalition against ISIS. According to recent reporting from Karl, al-Sharaa has maintained a quiet cooperation with the U.S. counterterrorism efforts since 2016, which is the big, holy shit, since really? It's been almost 10 years. Even though he was part of al-Qaeda, then he started his own group. And I guess he's trying to play nice, obviously, and help us with ISIS because it is in his backyard, obviously. And ISIS and his group were never really, they weren't sending each other Christmas cards. So, I mean, I kind of thought this was going on too. How is this guy able to operate so freely if he's not at least helping us with intel on ISIS and stuff, which would also help him because it's a rival of his. Mick, what do you got? Because I know you were down there, weren't you?
Well, I mean, it's certainly interesting, and I think you point out a valid point. I mean, he seemed to not only survive but strive, and the fall of Assad was somewhat miraculous, and that article has people going, maybe it wasn't as miraculous as we thought. So I don't know the answer. Obviously, if I did, I wouldn't say anything. But the article at least implies pretty closely that he worked with U.S. intelligence, right, for, as you said, almost 10 years. That might indicate why he was so roundly accepted as somebody who was al-Qaeda in Iraq and started al-Qaeda in Syria. Perhaps it was his cooperation with us that helped lead to things like the defeat of the ISIS caliphate, at least from his intelligence networks, what I imagine would be pretty substantial, in March of 19 to the killing of Baghdadi. Who knows? I think clearly this indicates that he was assisting us, and that's one of the reasons why he could have been successful when it came to taking over the country and toppling Assad. As far as, yes, he has a jihadist past. I think most military people and agency people like me and Jay still have somewhat of a Scots view. We don't view him as the rock star that a lot of people do in DC. But, from a practical, pragmatic position, we should if he wants to do, and he does everything he says he wants to do, that's in the interest of the United States. That's in the interest of stability in the region. It's in the interest of our partners. So he has to prove it, but he is, right now, he's walking the walk, right? So he's an interim president. He's got an interim government. They seem to be focused on the people of Syria, certainly not fighting with its neighbors. They're now in the coalition to defeat ISIS. And eventually, the true test will be whether he gives up power if he's not the one that the people of Syria select. But I think the pragmatic view would say this is going down the right road, but with a lot of caveats that we have to see this play out. If he does agree to normalize relations with Israel, like be part of the Abraham Accords, that would be substantial. I don't see them doing that until Saudi Arabia, which I know we're going to talk about today, does as well. Really, the other part of this is the countering of Iranian influence in Syria. It's clear that they have already done that by taking over and moving the Assad regime. To see that continue would also be very much in the interest of the United States and Israel, for that matter. So there's a lot of things he's done to date that I think is in the right direction. And there's a lot of things that he says he's going to do that would be beneficial to us. So not as quickly enamored with anybody really as some in DC, but certainly want to see the concept that he's espousing. And I have a lot of friends that know him and vouch for him personally after they have met him. So it's better for the United States. So from a pragmatic approach, I'd like to see it succeed.
And as I'm sure someone will point out in the comments, it's horrible and it sucks, but especially in the intel business, sometimes we have to do business with people we don't like. We just don't like them. But if, like Mick pointed out, if it's in the interest of the United States and our allies, then we're going to swallow our pride and do it, while hopefully keeping a close eye on them so that if they, go back to their old ways, well, then we handle it. But we've done it throughout history. And again, I'm not justifying. I'm just saying that that's the reality on the ground. So
can't penetrate terrorist organizations by recruiting, choir boys. Or it has to be. So I agree, and we'll see. But I mean, to put a positive thing, I understand why the U.S. and it started in the last administration. So this isn't even a partisan thing. Not that we talk partisanship here, but yeah, I think we're heading in the right direction. Having the next phase for them really is the full incorporation of all the different ethnic groups and components that is Syria, which if it doesn't, it just becomes a rump state that's not stable. And that includes incorporating all of our Kurdish friends in the east of Syria. They were the primary fighting force. I mean, whether Jelani was, an intel asset or just simply helped us or not, that was just one small part, even if it was the case. The big part that did the most fighting was the Syrian Democratic Forces, the SDF, led by, in many ways, the Kurdish fighters and leadership. So let's not forget that. That's how the caliphate was actually beat. They're the ones that lost thousands and thousands of troops doing it. So we need to make sure that we are good partners with them and look out for their interests. But having a good relationship with al-Sharaa, having a good relationship with Muslim means the United States could help stabilize and integrate Syria as a sovereign country.
Yeah. You think he had anything to do with that Baghdadi raid in terms of intel?
I don't know. I think Jason pointed out it was a significant rival of his. So,
right.
You know how it works in the Middle East, especially everywhere, really. But the enemy of my enemy. So the raid was excellent. I mean, it was done by the Army component of JSOC plus obviously me and Jason's old organization. They gather information from all sorts. So it probably wasn't like the movies, one specific asset with. But I'm just going off of what the article says. If you're cooperating with the U.S. on countering ISIS and defeating ISIS for, that'll make the time. That would indicate me providing information on HVTs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's speculation. It's not based on anything.
I got another question. Let's say I don't want to be. I don't want to have like. I'm not a wishful thinker. So my assessment, which means nothing, is that whenever these like elections are held, like I don't think he's going to give up power. I don't think it's happening.
Be the ultimate test.
Right. And even if let's say he doesn't do that, right? Let's say the worst happens and he's still cooperating with intelligence, right? And we're still schwacking ISIS guys. The pragmatic in me is kind of okay with that, right? There's a pseudo dictator in Syria, but he's helping us smoke ISIS guys. I'm kind of good with that.
We deal with autocratic countries all the time. But I'm just saying, if he's going to live up to what he's saying, that he would, when you call yourself an interim president, that means to me that you're going to accept that there's going to be elections. And if you accept that you're interim, if you don't win, just saying, like, we should also support democracies too. And I think the people of Syria should choose their own leaders, right? And it can happen. There's going to be a lot of assistance to reconstruct Syria. It's went through an incredibly disastrous civil war. And when they have an election, I'm sure the Carter Center and all the other watchdog groups for elections can be in there certifying it to be fair. And whoever wins should be the winner. I think the U.S. should promote that, period.
Yeah, for sure. Jay, you got anything with that? I'm just trying to look. I'm skimming through the article again.
Exactly what Mick said. I think that if the elections are held, he does lose, that we could push for whoever does win to keep him on in some capacity so that he could continue to help us, and it would also, if the person is from a different faction, it could help like kind of a cooperative government type thing. So not like just put him out to the curb. If he loses, we could, if he's still useful, then we should push for that. But as Mick said, ultimately it should be a democratic process and outcome, because if not, then we just end up back in the Assad circle all over again. So
here's a chance to be the Washington. To put my stoic hat on. I mean, Washington was a well-known stoic. He was essentially an interim president, right? He could have stayed on. He had plenty of people pushing him to be King George, America version. But he accepted term limited himself, and he turned it over. That's why we have America. So, I mean, I'm not trying to say this is the equivalent, but to Syrians, it is pretty close. So if he wins, he wins. The Constitution, how does that play out? How do they decide to govern themselves? I think one of the best things they could do, not just anything to do with national security, but is to have term limitations on leaders and promote the peaceful transfer of power based on the selection of the people.
Yep. Fingers crossed. Maybe I'm just a cynical fuck. Maybe that's why. Sorry about that. All right. Moving on, staying in the Middle East, though, MBS is headed to Washington. I think there's going to be a PBS special about that. A lot going on with there. It doesn't seem like it's exactly like gumdrops and rainbows. Our current relationship with Saudi Arabia. They're asking for a lot. We're asking for a lot in return. Mick, what are you hearing with that? Mick, are you frozen?
Okay,
it was a nice. It was a nice frozen. No, you froze like and you were smiling. It was very cute. Yeah, you had a superhero pose.
Okay.
We were just talking about MBS coming to Washington, and what are you hearing about that? What are we gonna what should we expect in the next week or so?
Well, first of all, speaking of PBS specials, I don't know if you saw it, but the American Revolution is coming out. Ken Burns.
No, but I'm looking forward to it.
Super excited about that. Everything he makes is exactly. So I think MBS is going to come with a lot of asks, and he probably is going to get a lot of asks, right? So from the Saudi perspective, they saw the new security agreement with Qatar, who was already a major non-NATO ally. But if you look at the specific language of the executive order, it kind of takes them above that. It's almost Article 5 type language with Qatar. And, Qatar provides the U.S. a lot. I mean, it's the biggest air base we have over there. It's also the forward command for Central Command. But, a lot of the rivals in the GCC are going to say, whoa, wait a minute, they got something, we want something. So I think that's probably going to be the case. They're going to be looking for that kind of security guarantee that the U.S. is already given to another Gulf country. I think they're going to be asking for F-35s, and the U.S. is going to push Israel to accept that. The issue of having to keep that edge for them. And I think the United States is going to turn around and say, okay, but how about recognizing Israel, normalizing relationships, and joining the Abraham Accords? How about supporting the reconstruction of Gaza, which I think Saudi would do anyway, but certainly the U.S. wants to see that happen, and it's going to take probably up to $100 billion to redo and reconstruct Gaza. So that's going to take a lot from them and the UAE and other wealthy Arab countries. So I think there's going to be a lot of quid pro quoing going on here between the two. So it should be a very interesting meeting, and more importantly, the results of the meeting, because we really want to keep Saudi Arabia in our orbit and away from others, as we do with any major country. And we need their assistance in so many different places to promote, quite frankly, stability in the region, which is in their interest, and against Iran, of course. Iran still exists, and we don't talk about it as much right now after all the setbacks that they've gotten by the United States and especially Israel. But they still exist, and they're still malicious, and Saudi Arabia is a big component when it comes to pushing back against Iran. And Saudi Arabia's always been a very good counterterrorism partner. It's in their own interest, and it's in our interest. So that needs to continue. So there's a lot of things I think to look for this meeting coming up between the Crown Prince and President of the United States.
Jason?
Yeah, I mean, not much else to say. Keep them in our sphere of influence is the key. We've been doing it since at least, a good job of it since at least the 90s, with the hiccups here and there, the conspiracy theories about 9/11 and the killing of, I'm going to say his name wrong, Khashoggi.
Khashoggi, yeah.
Those things. Yeah, but I mean, just like we just talked about with Syria, we sometimes have to deal with people we aren't on the same page with on every single thing. But I think it's key in the Middle East, keeping them within our sphere of influence.
It's interesting to me how, we have to massage Israel's ego to sell them F-35s at Saudi Arabia. It's like, no one should dictate to us who we can sell shit to ever, right? There's a reason why we won World War II, right? And we're the big boss now. And that's because no country can dictate to us who we sell weapons to, who we do intelligence on. I understand it's such a hot button issue, and Israel and AIPAC spends a ton of money. But it's like, dude, you sit up, just be quiet. You're lucky we're not asking you to fucking pay to reconstruct Gaza. Because, if you break it, you buy it. That would be my thought process.
So there's a law where it comes from, to see track, and it's quality military edge. I just looked it up. It's codified into law in 2008, Section 36H of the Arms Export Control Act, which mandates that I think the language is right here, that in the law says a superior military capability that enables it to deter, defend against, or defeat any credible conventional threat from any individual state or possible coalition of states or non-actors. So we can't do anything to erode their advantage over another country.
Israel's advantage.
Yeah, self-imposed.
I guess the AIPAC did their fucking job that in 2008.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a joke. That's an absolute joke. I mean, because I've heard a ton about people talking about Qatari money in Washington and stuff like that. I mean, all other.
So that's been a policy since the 60s, but it was codified into law in 2008. So, we could always repeal the law, but that is why this is a discussion. It's not just because,
Yeah.
The relationship between any particular prime minister and president. There has to be a review of that because of the law. But if Israel's okay with Saudi buying the F-35s, then it gives us being the U.S., some leverage to go, okay, well, if we're doing that, how about you normalize relationship with Israel? And at the end of the day, all these Abraham Accords help stabilize the region. It becomes economic interfaces. There's travel. There's just personal relationships, which might sound like a small thing, but when it's on a large scale, it makes the chances of an actual conflict, which is horrible for everybody, much, much less.
Yeah.
So that's why they got a lot. They, being the first Trump administration, got a lot of credit for the Abraham Accords, which I think they deserve, and that's what they wanted to expand. It isn't just to claim, you did something for the Middle East. It's real. It really helps keep this area from having another major conflict, which nobody should want to see.
Yeah, maybe I'm feeling spicy today. I don't know.
Why don't you?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, because I get major conflict between like big nation states with big hairy American weapons. I get that. That's no bueno for anybody. But I guess it's okay if there's like these minor conflicts where like Israel dominates Gaza. That's cool. That's okay. I mean, if you're Saudi Arabia, there's no freaking way you're doing that without like some kind of actual lasting, legitimate peace in Gaza, which, as far as we know, and we could tell, we've been paying attention to this for 2 years plus now, really paying attention to it. Israel's not exactly interested in doing that. I mean, I read that the aid trucks are fucking cut in half too, like they're fucking around with that. It's like, how are you making a deal with somebody who you can't fucking trust? I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out.
So Saudi's going to probably denormalize. They're going to require that the war in Gaza come to an end. They're going to be a major part of the reconstruction effort, and I imagine they're going to insist that there's a direct path toward a two-state solution. So the normalization could be super beneficial, not only to prevent any kind of broader regional conflict, but the specific one you're talking about. It could not only end, but it could also head into a direction that it doesn't happen again, because there's an independent state that lives in peace with its neighbors, especially Israel. Now, the issue is Saudi always gets asked to pay for everything.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
It's like having, I guess, one friend that's like a gazillionaire, won the lottery or something. So
he's always paying for dinner, yeah.
Right. But the price of oil is down. So that matters. Like it's what, 60? I don't really track that much. But
Yeah,
like
it's in the mid 60s. Yeah, it's like 64 last time I saw.
Yeah, so that starts cutting back a bit on what they can do when it comes to this stuff. But I would say I hope it goes up, but I don't, because nothing gets Saudi, but that makes everything
gas
possible.
goes up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that Saudi Arabia is the counterbalance, I guess, to Iran, right? The Sunni Shia beef. More and more over the last couple of years, they seem to be normalizing a little bit. Not fully normalizing, but at least flirting with it. Is that kind of just for show? Because I feel like it's like a pseudo Cold War, like how it was with us in USSR. Like Saudi Arabia and Iran, they might act like they're normalizing or semi-normalizing relationships, but they're always going to be diametrically opposed.
I mean, it seemed like it was real. I think from the Saudi perspective, they want to look at global economic integration, right? They're not looking to, their military capacity isn't one that they would want to test it, put it that way. They just joined a security agreement with Pakistan, who's a nuclear armed country. There's some question about whether, does that make Saudi a nuclear armed country, right? That's an interesting way to do it. In fact, I've seen analysts going, there's nothing in there that says that Pakistan couldn't move nuclear weapons to Saudi Arabia. But I don't, obviously I don't think it would be in their interest to have a conflict, especially a la war with Iran. No, nor ours, nor anybody's. So super disruptive to the global economy. So, I think they want to normalize relations. I don't think they have a desire. And remember, the Saudi-led coalition, Yemen, the Houthis launching attacks against Saudi Arabia. Houthis are, a proxy force, albeit a somewhat tenuous one, of Iran. They normalize relationships with Iran. Iran cuts off support for the Houthis. Saudi doesn't have as big as a Houthi issue, right? So, and they don't. So I think they're looking at it pragmatically. Certainly, they are an autocratic monarchy. So, we shouldn't sugarcoat that. And Jason already brought up Khashoggi was just despicable. But, the U.S., every administration going back to, the 40s has dealt with them because it is important. The relationship between the countries are important. Not everybody's a democracy. Unfortunately, more countries are turning away, which is a problem, but we have to deal with them all. If we isolate ourselves, it doesn't help the United States and it doesn't help the interest of democracies around the world, which, we're supposed to be the lead.
Yep. All right. So we'll see what the laundry list is this week coming up at the meeting with MBS and President Trump. Last bit, Operation Southern Spear. So I guess that's cool. They gave it a name. That's nice. About 25% of the U.S. Navy is parked off the shores in the Caribbean, off the shores of Venezuela in the Caribbean. Ton of B-52, a lot of firepower is down there. We know that JSOC's down there. We know, obviously, because President Trump signed or announced that he's given the CIA the okay for covert action, which is hilarious. So we know things are cooking. So when is this going to go down? I thought it was going to go down at some point this week with the whole Epstein stuff blowing up, but it hasn't yet. So what do we got, Mick? What are you hearing from your sources?
So apparently the Southern Spear is a rebranding of stuff that was already going on. And it had to do with remote autonomous stuff that was in the region that Southcom was controlling. It was rebranded and it was given specific objectives. And if you just read the objectives, right, protect the homeland, that's obviously a standing order, but also rid the Western Hemisphere of narco-terrorists and stop all illicit drugs into the United States. I'm just saying, that's not going to end anytime soon.
Yeah.
Right? That is a very broad, very open objective. The third one, of course, we've been trying to do for decades. So I'm not saying we shouldn't be trying to do it at all. I'm just saying that it's not specific to Venezuela. There's plenty of countries that have narco-terrorists and manufacture drugs that come to the United States and kill Americans. So the first part is this could be a very regional thing. It could be well beyond, Mexico, obviously. Most fentanyl comes from there. It's put together there. Chinese precursors, Peru, Colombia, obviously Venezuela. Does that mean that this is going to expand? Is it going to start with Venezuela and expand? Don't know. And this is obviously very open-ended. And as you already mentioned, we have 20+% of the Navy's assets now with the USS Gerald Ford and accompanying ships. I don't know, it's 12 ships. We don't need that to interdict small drug boats.
Right.
So it's just going to be course of action is going to be decided to strike inside Venezuela to start taking out the infrastructure for the drugs? Or is it going to be specifically about some kind of pushing a regime change? Some internal force that might be organically already there. He's a very unpopular, non-elected president or leader, a dictator. Is it a combination of the two? Is there some covert program to do that? Is it going to be an apprehension operation either done by JSOC or the agency or what? We're all waiting because the level of firepower we have down there could do all the way up to include an apprehension operation, but we still have nowhere near enough forces to do an invasion. I don't think that's even on the table.
Yeah.
That's if you think about Iraq, it was about 25 million. Venezuela's 30 million. We had about 180,000 to do Iraq, right? So we're not thankfully, it doesn't look like we're looking at some kind of long-term occupation of Venezuela, which would be considerable, and all the legal issues, the authority that would be needed to do that. But a Noriega-type apprehension or just fomenting a uprising could happen. And you are seeing more statements by Machado, right? Who would probably be the legitimate president if it wasn't for Maduro essentially saying she can't run. And, recent Nobel Peace Prize recipient. She's saying a lot more. And she's basically, at least in the messages I read, talking about doing the right thing, talking directly to the military, which to me means, taking this guy out of his position.
Dude. I mean, I love it. I love Machado. She's a gangster. I think she should be the president of Venezuela, because Maduro is a garbage can. But I don't know if I want America's Rangers and Delta Force and SEALs and CIA guys going into for an apprehension, and there's no guarantee that's going to work. We might lose guys to go back to the Southern Spear, bullets of what their aim is. Narco-terrorism. What the fuck does that even mean? Somebody explain. I mean, so we're going to take over Venezuela, then we're going to take over Mexico, and then we're going to take over Colombia, and then and Americans love cocaine and drugs. They're never going to stop. It's a huge market, right? Market economics. They love it. They buy it. They use it. Someone's going to supply it at some point. It just, to me, I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. I love the covert stuff. Rock and roll. Make it happen. Get in there, do the influence ops, try and, bring Machado's resistance up. Do what you can, right? And if you do see a golden opportunity to take Maduro out or apprehend him, where it's we might not lose 3 Blackhawks with operators on them, go for it. But it's how often does that happen where you have a golden opportunity where, things are going to go swimmingly? I don't know. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze to me, especially for Venezuela's a second or third tier narco state. Mexico is the real problem, and we all know it.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things that the agency in covert action can do is try to avoid the need to use the military, right? So, and you can't overthrow somebody that people of the country don't want them to be overthrown. So that's, I guess technically you could arrest them or do something like that, or some kind of targeted killing. But he is super unpopular. He's 80% disapproval rate, right? So it might not be that much to tip this. It might just be knowing that the U.S. supports it, some kind of direct support and I'm just making this up. I have no idea. I wouldn't be talking about it. Direct support to certain political entities, military entities, to just to basically light the fire that could get this person either detained and turned over to the United States for trial, or they try him in Venezuela for all the horrible human rights violations that he's had, and extra, judicial killings of his rivals, etc. And Machado does come to power, and there's a much more friendly government to the United States and to the people of Venezuela. Because remember, Venezuela's got the biggest proven oil reserves in the world, yet 7 million people had to flee their country because they couldn't eat chow, right? So he's destroyed what could be one of the most wealthiest countries in Latin America, and he's made it a total basket case. And if you want to really see what full version of socialism will do to a country, look at Venezuela, right? So, but I agree, we don't want to see any kind of deaths of U.S. forces, and it is risky. As good as JSOC is, and they're the best at that in the world, but there can always be, helicopters that get struck. Russia's flooded the zone with anti-aircraft weapons down there, so they can get lucky, and that would be a travesty. So hopefully we can do this without any risking directly U.S. servicemen and women.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I don't, like you pointed out, Mick, you don't want to see any U.S. loss of life or anyone. But at the end of the day, we put all of that stuff down there, all that equipment, all those personnel down there. And I'm not saying that we should do this for an ego trip, but if nothing happens and we just turn and head home, as much as I'd rather that than see loss of life, it's going to be a huge blow to how people, around the world look at us. It's like all this blustering for nothing. I'm not saying if we're going to do something, do it, shit or get off the pot. Because again, I'm not the one that has to, fly the aircraft, pull the trigger, whatever. But it just, I hate using the cliche terms, but it's looking like a big nothing burger until it's not, and we just have to see what's going to happen.
I hope this was kind of played out, right? Mm-hmm. Like if this is a bluff, like the gunboat diplomacy that everybody likes to use as a cliche, did they get, like, what if he doesn't flee and go to Cuba or Russia? Like, how is this going to look? Like, if we bluff too many times, people are going to say, I don't care. You bring as many aircraft carriers you want. You're just
exactly
paper tiger. I don't know. We're going to find out. So I do think, I think it was the Washington Post that reported, and now several entities, that the president was given the briefing, right? So this is in my experience, you just don't randomly go brief the president on military options that are this specific without him A, asking for it, and B, likely of one of those things being chosen. Mm-hmm. Right? So don't know what the options were, but I imagine all of them involve some kind of action. So it could be limited strikes. We hit the production facilities, some of the transport hubs like ports and airports. I don't know. Or something more significant. Or this attempt to apprehend him. I don't know. But my experience, the president doesn't get random briefs to take military action against countries unless he asks for it, unless there's a high probability that one of them is going to get chosen.
And we can only hit these dinghies or these fishing boats, individually for so long, because we're expending manpower and money and equipment. And what is the actual, as Dee said, what's the juice for all this squeeze, and plus we're now having allies who previously provided intelligence to us are saying we're not doing it anymore until you can give us some sort of a legal justification, like concrete legal justification for doing it. So I think we're at one end or the other. It's that we can't do that part forever. So are we going to go, kick the field goal and or cross the goal line and, start launching strikes? Or are we just going to turn and say, don't do it again and go home? What are we going to do?
Right. And that was significant, Jay, which you referenced in the UK pulling intel. I mean, they're the closest ally, really, we have. The Five Eyes, which seems, it's all the colonies, oddly enough, right? So you got the UK, I'm sure that's the way the Brits view it, right? UK, the United States, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia, right? So it's the closest relationship we have, strategically, but also militarily. And the Brits, they have a pretty decent network in the Caribbean. I mean, they have a lot of territory. So the United States, obviously, we have the capacity to make up for what we're actually losing from them, but it's a pretty big political statement, even though it might not be a political statement, but it is that they are not comfortable with the legality of what we're doing. And that's something that I think is going to get more and more questions from Congress. It's carrying out not only the strikes against the drug boats. White House is going to say imminent threat, it's killing Americans. That's their argument. The other argument is, yes, but it's a law enforcement action. Generally, you arrest people, you produce evidence, they go to jail or not based on the evidence. And to be frank, some of these are getting struck 1,000 miles from the United States. 1,000 miles. So the imminency of the threat, I'm just putting both, I'm not a legal analyst, but I'm putting both arguments on the table. And then if you do direct action against Venezuela, that brings in, the War Powers Act, authorization of Congress. We already talked about that.
Yeah, they pushed out.
Yeah, and what role do they play in
They passed the
authorizing?
buck, I guess. I'll give you a better term instead of like saying they pushed out, which is what they did. They voted to not vote on it. It's like,
Which is
sorry.
in a way voting for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of authorization, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they might not want to claim it, but if you say the president, any president, doesn't have to ask Congress to do direct military action against a country, then you're saying you can do direct military. You're authorizing it, right? Because that's the role that Congress, under Article 1, plays in that, the declaring war. So there's going to be a lot if this, now limited in scope, maybe a short barrage of strikes against drug facilities. I don't know if that triggers the War Powers Act, but a long-term military campaign, then it seems like that would bring it into question.
But isn't presently it's 60 days, right? Like
You
like,
can,
That's what,
the president can deploy forces for 60 days. Congress can stop them. They can vote to stop them under the War Powers Act. Say, nope, bad idea. You can't do it. If they don't vote to stop them, they have 60 days under War Powers Act unless Congress then authorizes them to continue. If they don't authorize them, so the absence of action, then the president has 30 days to withdraw.
it's funny. How many days were we bombing the Houthis? I think it was
So
like
most of that was our. Oh, you mean?
in
Well, that
2024.
was yeah, but that was a direct. They were shooting at us.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
I mean, the president, the executive branch always has the ability to defend U.S. military personnel, U.S. assets, and U.S. nationals immediately. They don't have so because it was a continuous threat to U.S. military assets. They were shooting at our naval vessels plus random commercial vessels. They didn't need authorization.
Yeah. Okay. So again, we'll wait and see what happens. It's probably a go, right? At some point, targeted strikes at least.
I would guess. I mean, I don't know. I
everything's
don't know
in
if
place
they,
for it.
Yeah.
yeah, and now it is in place, right, Jay? I mean, now
Mm-hmm.
is Ford there now? I know it
Yeah.
was
I believe
entered
so.
the
Yeah.
AO.
Yeah.
You got to remember, I mean, they got a long range, so you don't have to be like all up on Venezuela. In fact,
Yeah.
there's a 20-second view that's like, I don't know, 30 miles from
Yeah.
Venezuela, and the USS Gravely, which is a multi-purpose guided missile
that's-
destroyer.
Yeah.
So Tomahawks, the Aegis system, plus all the F-35s that are down there and other. I mean, I think Maduro's mobilizing many in his country, not because he thinks they could do much, obviously, against the United
Yeah.
States, because conventionally this isn't even up. But he's also worried that people are going to uprise against him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that is, in fact, what they want to do. They'll start taking strikes and then hope that some internal element in Venezuela overthrows Maduro. Let's just hope they're one that's then looking to hand it over to an elected rather than just become
Right.
a new Maduro. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they could do really, really well on in the world economy. People keep bringing up their proven oil reserves because it's like it's right there. I mean, not a lot of countries have. Well, no country has as much as they do. They could do really well for themselves. Be very much a partner to the United States. A lot of foreign media thinks this whole thing's about us stealing their oil. So,
Yeah, but they made it. They offered like making deals with the U.S. And canceling contracts with China and Russia for oil and stuff like that. And we said no. Right.
Maybe
So
we're
like,
pushing for a better deal. I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of crazy. Think about it. Like, I know Maduro's an asshole and he's a socialist and a dictator, but like, we're pushing for a better deal. Imagine while you have a fucking gun to your fucking head. Like, think about that. It's kind of fucking insane in terms of like making a deal, like economic deal.
Well, maybe there's. I mean, I don't. I know what your report you're talking about, D.
Yeah.
And I actually don't know if it's accurate.
Yeah.
But I wonder if we're waiting for a better. I don't know. Better
Right.
offer. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting time next week.
For sure. If I'm PACOM, I'm fucking pissed, man. No? If you're the commander?
They're always mad when they get resources.
Yeah. Like CENTCOM, SOUTHCOM, like what the fuck, guys? We got China right here. Like, hello.
Yes.
Oh man.
I'm sure there's a lot of discussions with the chairman, who is what they call a global integrator, right? So the chairman, the joint chief of staff, the whole staff, they're supposed to move key national assets around based on what's going on. But, the president ultimately is the one that decides what's going on. And right now he's decided that what's going on is, a buildup against Venezuela. So.
Sick. All right. Anything else, boys?
Yeah, I think we covered a lot. This would be an interesting week with the MBS. Is MBS visiting this week? Is it this week? And although we don't know, it could easily, whatever we're going to decide to do against Venezuela could happen this week, because it does look like everything's in place.
So were they waiting basically for the carrier to get there?
Makes sense.
Yeah. They didn't need to with what they had, but that absolutely gives them the range that they need. So probably.
Yeah, MBS is coming this week.
They run out of targets.
Yeah.
I wonder if you have anybody in our audience that really knows the details of what kind of targets would be, the extent of targets that would have to do with the drug trade. Or is this going to be like over 35 minutes?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know enough about, what targets they would have, other than just the production facilities. Have no idea how many there are. Are you really going to hit infrastructure just because drugs go through it, destroy infrastructure? Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. I'm sure the intel community's been focused on this like a laser. But I just don't know if it would be like this giant buildup for a, very short. Because you'd see Tomahawk missiles coming off the destroyers, potentially off of nuclear submarines. You'd see the aircraft coming off the obviously the aircraft carrier, but also out of Puerto Rico. Or if they would do any kind of operation to get Maduro. If not, this could be quick, very quick.
And then we could just declare victory on the drug war. I'm sorry. I'm being a prick today. I'm sorry about that, guys. And MBS is coming on Tuesday.
Okay.
Tuesday this week. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye on that for sure. I want you guys to do me a favor. I'm going to have to re-listen to a couple of Mick's podcasts about stoicism, because today I'm not feeling very stoic. I'm kind of snappy. It's called The Pub and the Porch, Applied Stoicism. It's awesome. The links are in the description. They just started posting on YouTube also. That link is in the description as well. Jason Lyons, his links are down there. Andy Milburn links are down there. And support the show, patreon.com/theteamhouse. You get both Team House and Eyes on Geopolitics episodes ad-free early. And you can ask us questions too. Shoot us a question if you want to ask Mick, Jason, or Andy about their expert opinions on foreign affairs. Feel free if you're a patron. Patreon.com/theteamhouse. Guys, as always, it's a pleasure. And I apologize for being an asshole today.
No, man. We need that. We need the Mick and I try to hold it together and keep it as
yeah, I refuse to do that. Yeah. I refuse to do that.
So we need that.
Thanks, boys.
All right, gents.
Have a great day.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's D. I want to thank you for watching the show. I really appreciate it. And I'd love for you guys to check out our Patreon. It's at patreon.com/theteamhouse. The link is in the description. Super easy to find. If you're listening, it's in the show notes as well. You can find it right there. What do you get? You get ad-free audio, ad-free video for both Eyes on Geo.